Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan. Today we're going to be checking out a new mod that just dropped out this morning. However, it's quite popular from Warhammer 2, so it's a reimagining of it. So this is Konrad von Carstein, and I know people are saying, oh god, another von Carstein. However, this one is a legendary hero, and perhaps the most interesting of the von Carsteins, because he's not the typical, I'm going to plan and sneak about and just plan for centuries. Konrad is known for just being an absolute psychopath, so much so that even other vampires are terrified of him. There's a reason why he's known as like the Hound, the Butcher, and so many other names. So let's go check out the mod, because not only does it add in Konrad, but it adds in a new mechanic for the Sylvania faction. So before we go on to Konrad, we do have a new mechanic which is in the form of new units. Yes, listen to me, it's an actual mechanic. So the new units are Sylvanian mortal levies, something that was actually well known from back in the day when it was 6th edition, when vampires actually were a bit different. So you're able to get some mortals, some basic frontline troops, and also some range units, and we'll talk about their stats a little bit later. But there's something that you also need to know about this. You see, these units are capped, and the only way that you can actually increase the cap is to expand your empire. So what you need to do is just expand, take over settlements, and eventually that will increase your cap more and more. So you won't be getting too many range units, and you won't be too overpowered, but it keeps it balanced in a way. Now, Konrad himself is pretty easy to pick up. All you have to do is build up the Mausoleum of the Mad Count, so you can actually get that from the very start of your campaign. It very much depends on if you want to spend the money on that early on, because you already start off with 2 vampires, so it's not really needed, but he does add in a lot of extra firepower, and it's always good to have a little bit of extra strength, because, well, you know, the AI is a bit weird right now, and you will end up getting attacked left, right, and center. So anyways, he'll be automatically spawned. As far as I'm aware, he'll spawn next to your Legendary Lord. I mean, that's how it's worked for me for my testing. And you'll also get a little bit of fluff. So if you don't know anything about the character, that's perfectly fine. You actually get a nice little cheat sheet just to kind of get you informed. And I think that's really good. I love when mods do that. The character himself is pretty cool, and he's got a lot of different things about it. When it comes to his unique traits, you've got a few effects, right? So he's immortal, you get control +5 for local province, and wound action, additional 10% chance of wounding the target. I don't really see too much use of that, but that's mostly because I prefer him in an army doing a lot of damage. But if you want to wound, that works out well, especially when you start going for the whole thing about blood kisses and stuff. He's multi-purpose, but I like to see him up front and personal. So he has his own unique skill line as expected, and it's pretty good. So it starts off basically with being able to turn into a bat. So yes, this is a transformation mechanic. Keep in mind that the bats will make you a big target, as you won't have a lot of HP. But if you want to get behind a wall, for example, or you want to get behind the enemy if they've got a choke point, it works out quite well, and we'll be showing off an example later on anyway. And yeah, you can see loads of different effects. You're able to summon in monsters, you can get terror, so make sure that you don't get the other terror skill. There's a lot of buffs just to make him like really strong, like for example extra physical resistance, makes him rampage, immune to psychology, and even giving frenzy to your army, except for the Vlad and Isabella thing, because they can't really get frenzy. But in general, yeah, I think it works out very, very well. He's also got access to a unique item that you'll get at rank 9, and the whole thing about income from post-battle loot is just great, because extra money, especially for the vampires at the very beginning, is quite beneficial. Getting to rank 9 is also quite easy, considering that after you take Sylvania, you'll probably go up to Stirland and just smash your way into Reichland, and yeah, that's pretty much what's going to get you there. So the first new unit is the Sylvanian Levy. They're not the best, and they are human, so they can rout. But if you want some mortals, especially, you know, if you want to theme it a little bit more, I think this is the best way to go. The other unit's much better, but I'm just talking here about the levies in general. So yeah, shielded, decent stats for basically what would be a tier 1, tier 2 unit essentially. And it's just there for the theming purposes, and I think theming should be important with these types of things. It doesn't have to be a great unit all around, it just has to be a theme, so you can relive 6th edition, which, you know, was like the best edition. And then you've got access to a archer unit, which isn't going to be really the best unit around, let's be honest. It's 120 range, but it gives you some range units, which is something that you saw in 8th edition. It's something that wasn't common in later editions, but it's still very von Carstein. And I actually really like this, because it gives you a little bit of support, especially if you're going to be sieging a lot, if you want just something to shoot at the walls, or just in general, I think the unit is just really, really good. Sometimes even having bad stats isn't necessarily a bad thing if your functionality adds something new. Now in terms of Konrad, well, he's pretty multi-purpose. I think that he excels more when he's fighting against infantry units and obviously character hunting. Like, don't put him against big monsters, but he should be able to hold himself off against a legendary lord, especially if you kind of boost him up in campaign. Not too sure too much about how it would work in custom battle or multiplayer, but campaign he does excel as you start boosting him up. It's very, very obvious, and he can be quite the melee powerhouse. In general, when it comes to the mod itself, it's honestly really good. It adds in so much more. I'm going to be showcasing off a test battle here, which is a randomly generated vampire count army versus my own army, and as you can see, I randomly generated that too. The idea is just to have a little bit fun, see what I could do with Konrad, see what I could do in general. It's vampires versus vampires, kind of going with the whole vampire civil war. And yeah, I mean, Konrad's not too bad. He's able to do quite a lot. And what I kind of wanted to do is play it kind of like a AI would, so using spells in a minimal sense, just playing around, seeing how it would function. Really, what I should have done is just AI versus AI, but I kind of wanted to play it myself anyway. And yeah, I mean, so far, like, the damage is good. They've got some levies. I don't have levies. Everything just kind of smashes right into each other, but then again, that's how vampires currently play. And really, just when you go with the whole thing, getting through an enemy line is going to be quite difficult, right? So turning into a bat just to get behind the enemy lines, as Konrad cannot mount anything, so he's kind of slow. It works out quite well. The only problem is I feel like I would have suffered a lot if I would have been fighting against, say, for example, elves or empire, as you don't get a lot of health as the bats, and you will get struck down fairly quickly because it's easy for you to get targeted. It's very important to know that the AI for Total War does tend to try and focus the flying units because they are deemed quite a bit of a threat. Though I really like that functionality because that's something that we know happens in lore, we just don't really get it in Total War Warhammer. So being turned into a bat and just getting around the enemy lines, it kind of adds in a little bit of extra tactics, really, especially for something like Konrad, where you could turn into a bat, get behind enemy walls, obviously if there's not a lot of enemies that can shoot you, and then you can just smash your way through, because he's really good at blending down units in big numbers. It's something that he was able to do on the tabletop too. It's a character that really, it's a shame that we still don't have, but thankfully with mods we can get them and we can have a little bit of fun, especially the new mechanic. It's just nice to have a little bit more of a separation to make the vampires a bit different. Anyways, the mod itself can be found in the description below, so you can check it out there, and let me know what you guys think about the mod in the comments below. We can have a little bit of a discussion. I know a lot of people are sick of the von Carsteins, but Konrad is just super cool, and I really, really do hope that we end up getting some Legendary Hero DLC packs in the future. I'll let the rest of the battle play out too, in case you're interested to see how it went, and you can see how Konrad does throughout the battle, and just in general, my kind of bad stack versus a decent stack of vampires.
Yes! End them! Night comes! Traitor! Vampire Lord! Blood magic! Undeath Ascendant! Beast, I invoke the Black Tongue. Nergas Kalis, Hymus Tauzo Bullshade. Vampire Lord. Time to feast! Tonight I feast! Yes, blood!
Corpse cat! Yes, yes!